Johnny stole because he's dishonest, right? Most people would nod their heads and be like, yeah, Johnny stole because he's dishonest. But we say, what does dishonest mean? Dishonest means it's a label, right, that we ascribe to somebody who does a series of different behaviors, one of which is stealing. And so if we were to restate that sentence with a broken down definition, it would then be Johnny stole because he's the type of person who steals, which is circular and makes no sense.
What you want to do is save hundreds when Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance.
That's great, but can you ask your friend to stop digging into the green?
I can ask, but he's not going to. Only pay for what you need. Liberty.
Because the real reason that Johnny stole is because he's been reinforced for stealing in the past, or he saw someone who got reinforced for stealing and then modeled their behavior. That is why Johnny stole. And so because of that basic misunderstanding, most people have these words that they use to explain the reality that they don't actually understand. And as a result, reality fools them more often than it should.
He was rewarded for it, or he was punished for doing the opposite of it.
Exactly. And so that basic, what I just explained is the difference between description and explanation, which is relatively heady and I think difficult sometimes to grasp, but is at the most basic level, like my worldview.
This is what happened. This is why it happened.
Why? Yeah. And so from that one kind of basic understanding, everything else can kind of pretty much get laddered up. And so, said differently, if I wanted to tell a child, get good at basketball, right? I would not tell him, get better at basketball. Because a 5-year-old would be like, I don't know how to do that. What does that mean? So I'd be like, okay, well, let's break it down. We've got dribbling, passing, shooting. Okay, do that. A little bit closer, but they still probably don't know how to. If I say, go get better at dribbling, passing, and shooting, still can't do anything with that. Until eventually I'd be like, okay, passing. So I want you to take a step with your left foot towards the person, and I want you to extend your elbows and finish with your thumbs down. And if the ball goes towards them in the direction that they're running and they catch it, you've passed successfully. And then I would repeat that chain of events until eventually they would understand that that chain of behaviors equals passing. And if they do it a lot and they hit the target many times, they would be good at passing. And we'd repeat that all the way down until they're good at passing, dribbling, shooting, etc. And then eventually we'd describe them as a good basketball player. But that basic unbundling and rebundling of terms is why I think the vast majority of people are wildly confused by what's going on around them. Is that someone says, why don't you love me? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I pay the bills, I take out the trash. Like, what do you want from me? And she says, you don't tell me I'm pretty. You don't hug me. You don't listen to me you don't ever ask me how my day's going. And it's because for her, she defines love in these behaviors and he defines love in these behaviors. And so then they fight forever rather than just saying like, what does that mean? What does that mean? We had 2 employees that were arguing about something at acquisition, and one was like, hey, can you, I would be fine if you were just like kind and polite to me. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And there was obviously a moment of like hesitation there because it's like, okay, so you want the other person to guess what you think in your mind means good behavior, but you've never articulated it. And so you want them to guess and somehow get it right. Mm-hmm. And so finally it just was like, can you ask more questions rather than making more statements? And the other person was like, yeah, sure. And it's like, great. But that basic thing now, and they're fine now and everything's great. And so, but like, this is why I view the world in behavior, because I have wanted things, but I didn't know how to get them, which happens in reality. And so as long as I live in reality, I prefer to define things through reality. And then reality tends to behave far more as I predicted it would.
Before we continue, most people in their 30s are still training hard. Their protein is dialed in. They sleep. Below. It's time on the I want you to do this, but I didn't tell you. It's that